Hi, Mike DePung here, and if you're joining me, welcome. If you have been here before, I would like to just give you a little heads up. This is going to be a little different, but well, it's kind of like one of my stories. It's one of my stories from when I t was teaching in the classroom. And on Valentine's Day, I would read some of this poem to my students. I would let them work with it a little bit, and then I would finish it up for them. It's a poem from a course that I had when I was uh, getting my English degree. Actually, for those of you who have been involved in English lit, this is the Riverside Chaucer. This is Geoffrey Chaucer. And this whole big fat book here was our book for for a semester, and we barely scratched the surface of it. But what I would do on Valentine's Day was uh, to have a little fun with the students. I would read a little bit for them from Middle English. Now, it's funny because most people aren't aware of the the periods of English. There was the Old English um, that was from about 450 to 1066 AD. And then there was Middle English from about 1066 to 1400 up to 15 to about 1500 is actually when it was up to the time of the invention of the printing press, a little after that. And when I would ask my students when we get to Shakespeare, I'd say, what period of English was Shakespeare written in? Old English. No, maybe Middle English. No, he was writing in the late 1500s and into the early 1600s. He was writing in early modern English. And you will see the difference because what I used to do is read a couple of verses from this poem that Geoffrey Chaucer wrote called The Parliament of Fowles. It's the gathering of birds, basically. It was always at springtime at this time of the year. And um, uh, this is when the first mention in English lit, in any literature, of bringing together this time of the year with Cupid and Saint Valentine's. It's from here. It's from this poem. And so I would read a little bit for fun, and then I would give my students a handout, and I'd let them wrestle with trying to figure out what a couple of the verses meant, how to translate it, and to see how very different it is. And yet there are things that can be recognized. And then I would proceed to tell them the rest of the story that they didn't get. And that's what I'd like to share with you today, because A, it's fun, it's kind of funny. B, uh, I have an ulterior motive like I always did. I won't say that. I'll say extra purposes that are built in to what I'm doing. And it's the value of poetry. It's the value of reading, um, because we have to, in Walt Whitman's words, the reader has as much work to do as the writer, as the author, to try to make sense of things, to wrestle with what they read. And when we do that, because me coming from the mystic spiritualist standpoint that I do, from shamanic standpoint, the most crucial thing in life is to know yourself. And when you're engaging and reacting with honestly, not with what other people say, or when you're really looking at it, are you even reacting to what other people say? Um, in some ways, you're getting to know yourself. And there are energies built into the words that are written there, with some of the authors. And that's why what I'm going to do this to lead into a little series I would like to do with thinking about poetry as an insight into the collective energies that I'm sensing around us today, and to see how they have been addressed by poets and what we might be able to get from that, what it might mean for us in terms of our journey, our path, especially our healing pathway of um, awakening to who we are, awakening to our own essence of love, our own essence of divinity, of creativity, of joy, happiness, of innovation, of creation. We awaken to these things along the way. And when we're conscious of it, when we're doing it consciously, wow, it's powerful. And it's why we came here, to see the beauty. And that's what poets do. They see They observe life, they imagine life, they ascribe energies that sometimes um, give characteristics to things that don't normally react as a human being or function as a human being to that. And it just helps us to think about who we are, what life is all about us. And I will say this, um, it helps us to appreciate other people, other cultures, to appreciate nature, the little things, the common things, uh, appreciate um, uh, the innovations, the creations, the um, building that humans have done over the years. And I've been sitting on this for a while, actually. I've been working with this for a while now. I thought about writing it, but I don't know. Not many people listen to the videos, let alone reading longer pieces of writing. But we'll see. I don't know. I'll see what spirit says to me. The spirits are here around me. And um, so many of the authors that I read have this sense of knowing the value of knowing yourself. Well, having said this, I want to share the fun story. And then in the coming week, I'm going to start into some other stuff. This is from the Parliament of Fowles, and this is what Middle English sounded like. Now, I say that take that with a grain of salt because it's been many years since I actually was in the classroom with the master professor who forced us um, to recite in Middle English. And I did it with my classes because it's fun, but I'm not claiming that this is expert because it's not, but it is fun. So here is the Parliament of Fowls, and here begins the Parliament of Fowls. The leaf so short, the craft so long to learn it, the essay so hard, so sharp the conquering, the dreadful joy all away that sleet so yearn, all this may need be love, that my feeling astonieth with his wonderful working. So sorry wis that when he on him thinka, not what he will were that he flate or sinka. Now, the narrator of this poem, that is actually like a 6-page poem, double columns, um, he begins this. He says, I want to talk to you guys about love. He said, life's short and it takes so long to learn about love. And it's such a steep learning curve that when I think about it, it kind of blows my mind. And he personifies love. The narrator personifies love, capitalizes the L in it. And it says, when I think about the way love works as an energy, as a personified energy, when I think about it, I I don't know whether I'm floating or sinking or floating. I don't know. And he goes on to say, and I don't want to read all of this to you, but he goes on to say, um, well, I don't really know about love myself, but I've read about it in books. And so I can tell you what they say. But here I do want to read the two other verses that tie together St. Valentine's Day with this time of the year when all the little birdies, by the way, Parliament of Fowls is this gathering of birds, when all the little birdies get together to start making their cute little birdie families. And they do it in an orderly way according to nature. And it happens on St. Valentine's Day, and Cupid is involved in doing his work. And here's the way this reads. Under a tree beside a well, he say, Cupid, our lord, his arrows forge and fillet, and at his feet his bow already lie. And Willie, his doctor, temporary all this weally, the heavy days in the well, and with her wail, she couched him, after they should have served some for to slay, and some to wound and curve. Now, this is what I would enjoy sharing with my students. This is the first mention about Cupid and what he's like in English literature. Not a little cherubic baby with a little bitty bow and arrow and little ding, and it hits somebody in the tush, and it's just like this little pinch, and it's like, oh, I'm in love. No, Cupid is under a tree beside a well in this verse, and he is working on his arrows. He's forging them and filing them. And I would ask the students, what kind of material gets forged and filed? metal. And they have these cute little rinky-dink arrows that softly hit somebody in the tush. These babies are long and made out of metal and sharpened very finely. And his daughter is personified as the human will, his Duchter. She was tempering the points, the heads of these arrows in the well. Heat them up, stuff them, get them harder, harder. And she worked because he was going to, Cupid, her father, was going to send them forth into people. And this is what it said: they should serve, some for to slay, and some to wound and carve. Yeah, this is what this is like foreshadowing the poem about what does to people. It tears them apart. And it's going to get personified. We're going to see a little bit of that. I'll tell you the story in just a minute. But here's the one other verse I wanted to read. For this was on Saint Valentinus' day, when every fowl cometh there to chase his maca of every kinder that men think am I, and that so huge noise gan they make, that earth and air and tree and every lake, so full was that unnethe there was there space for me to stand, so full was all the place. So he has this vision that he's sharing here of after he had read a book and fallen asleep, and he sees Cupid and his daughter Will and getting these arrows ready. And it happened on St. Valentine's Day. And it was where all the birds come together and they're going to choose their mates. It's where they say, okay, well, this is where the love part comes in and gets personified. And this narrator goes on to tell the story. And I'm not going to belabor it, but this is the point I would get to with my students. I would tell them, because in this, what happens is there is this royal eagle babe. She is like the royal bird babe. She is the one that everybody's after. And only the most worthy suitors, three most worthy suitors, get to approach her and offer what they can to try to get her to be with them and to make their little family. So the first suitor comes and he's like this. They're all like peregrine falcon type hawks and eagle. So this big royal eagle, great kingdom. He comes and he says to her, "Hey babe, if you come and be with me, you're going to get half of my kingdom. It's yours. You just have to come and be with me." Well, all the birds are gathered that they're witnessing this great play. It's kind of like the Bachelorette, and these guys these male birds are pledging their love to them. And so this royal eagle says, "Yeah, half my kingdom is yours," and the birds go crazy. You've heard the term somebody being a silly goose. It comes from this poem. That the silly geese just wouldn't get quiet, and Elaine, the goddess of nature, would have to quiet them all down. She said, "Okay, what do you have to offer, you falcon?" And Falcon says, "Hey, you come and be with me. Forget that half the kingdom crap. If you're mine, whole kingdom, my kingdom is yours." And all the birds go crazy again. The third one comes up, the hawk, and he says, "Wow." He said, "You're really beautiful, but I don't have great kingdoms to offer like these other two do. But what I can offer you is my faithful heart. It's yours." And at this, the birds explode. They know this is the one. Oh, that's love. That's what we wanted to hear. And Elaine, the goddess of nature, is there. And she says, "Well, chick, you've got three offers here. Who do you choose?" And the bachelorette babe, bird babe says, um, "Well, I'm not so sure. Half a kingdom, a whole kingdom, our heart? I'll tell you what, guys, stick around till next year at this time, and I'll make my decision then." At that, the birds really freak out. And when they do, Elaine again calms them all down and says, "You're all free to go. After all, a year's not so long to wait. And you guys just stick around and we'll see what happens next year." Wow. So by this time, when I'm telling the story, and I would read a few couple little bitty quotes along the way in modern English, um, uh, the students were all pretty much listening. They were pretty intent on it. And I would say, guys in the class, I've got a special message for you today. Um, this is what girls will do to you. They will make you promise them heaven and earth, their heart, your heart, every single centimeter of you they want from you. And when you do that, when you finally get to that point, this is what happens. They rip that heart out of you, they throw it on the ground, stomp it into the dust of earth, and say, I'll think about it. Now, at this, of course, when I say this, the girls would freak out. They would go, Mr. DePong, how can you say? And it was pretty funny that some of the years, the girls actually would run after class. They would run to uh, my wife's office, who was a counselor in the same school. And they would say, Did you know what your husband is saying in class? And it was pretty funny. And of course, I would disavow that I was really that's what it meant. I would also say, now you got to be realize this is what the poem says. It's not me. So anyway, it was pretty much fun. And they enjoyed it, and the guys would laugh, and of course they would all be like, "Yeah, that's the way we get treated." And it was just a lot of fun. But it makes us think about things. It makes us think about nature and about how nature gathers and about that there's an order of nature. All these kinds of things that are hidden in something that is rather humorous story. And that's the way it is, it comes across. And it is very delightful. I want to encourage you to just think about the value of nature. Think about things are starting to awaken now. Some people around here are starting to see the little heads of the daffodils and the crocus and the snowdrops popping up. And in fact, I haven't looked recently. If they are, this coming week, it's going to be bad because we're going to be right at zero a couple of the days uh, for for the temperature. So think about it, though, that there is a lot waiting to bloom, to come into, and that there's stuff going on even now. Uh, in the cold of winter, there is there are things that happen that should make us value our life every day, that should make us value this creation. We came here to do this, to stand in awe and wonder at the stuff in our backyard, at the stuff as we drive along and see the trees, or look up and see the clouds, or see the stars at night. By at night, the winter, the stars in the wintertime are so powerful. And of course, we just had the full moon a couple days ago, and it was gorgeous. Think about how you relate to all of this, how you relate to life, and laugh along the way. So until I get into some other stuff that helps me to read and to reflect the energy that I see going on in the collective world now. Um, until then, I hope you enjoyed this, and I hope you have a great day and love and peace till then.